We are watching the onset of a devastating regional war across the Middle East unfold before our very eyes. The inciting incident was a coordinated American and Israeli decapitation strike in Tehran. A decapitation strike is a targeted military attack designed to eliminate an adversary's supreme command structure. The target was the supreme leader of Iran. Western military doctrine relies heavily on this tactic. The assumption is straightforward. Removing an enemy's leadership will cause immediate structural and operational paralysis across their forces. Intelligence forces completely leveled the location. The strike killed the supreme leader, his immediate family, and potential successors. The attackers immediately claimed a massive tactical victory, backed by spy footage. Iranian state media initially denied the event, but eventually confirmed that he chose to stay in Tehran and die alongside his people. Applying standard military logic to this specific adversary is a strategic miscalculation. Treating an asymmetrical, religiously motivated adversary like a conventional nation-state leads to a total failure in strategic forecasting. This diagram shows a standard game theory payoff matrix used to evaluate the expected outcome of removing an enemy leader. The attacker expects the assassination to yield system paralysis. That model fails because it ignores the governing socio-religious variable of the adversary, Shia doctrine. The Shia are a minority within the global Muslim population, and their theology is heavily shaped by a long legacy of persecution. The core tenet of martyrdom changes the incentive structure of the conflict, as a death is processed not as a loss, but as a recruitment tool. The death of the supreme leader is not processed as a systemic loss. Instead, it serves as a powerful mobilization multiplier for the population. The assassination did not end the game. It acted as a system-wide catalyst, shifting the parameters from a standard geopolitical dispute into a war of absolute attrition. On the exact same morning, a secondary, highly controversial kinetic event took place in the Iranian capital. A primary school in southern Tehran was destroyed, resulting in the deaths of approximately 150 young girls. The intelligence narratives clash immediately. Israel claimed an Iranian air defense system misfired. Iran insisted it was a deliberate, calculated strike by Israeli forces. In the matrix of game theory, the absolute truth of who fired the missile is irrelevant compared to its psychological function as a commitment mechanism. A commitment mechanism is an action that irreversibly locks a player into a specific strategy. This civilian tragedy, paired directly with the leader's martyrdom, galvanizes the populace into a unified state of jihad, a religious duty demanding ultimate personal sacrifice. This combination of events removes diplomatic off-ramps, ensuring the Iranian state will commit all available resources to destroying their enemies at any cost. The conflict expanded far past the kinetic zone of Iran, reaching the wealthy financial centers of the GCC. The GCC, or Gulf Cooperation Council, is a political and economic union of 6 Middle Eastern coastal nations. Dubai serves as the prime case study. Its economic model is built on being a tax-free haven that attracts massive Western capital. But there is a fatal flaw in this economic model: subsidized neutrality. Their perception of safety is entirely dependent on the regional presence of the U.S. military. The Iranian mobilization led to direct retaliatory strikes against these seemingly neutral Gulf nations. The strikes caused instant logistical and economic panic. Airspace shut down entirely, and wealthy expats were reportedly paying up to $250,000 just to secure a seat on an evacuation flight. The strategic logic from Tehran is based on the fact that these cities actively house the American military assets in airspace used to launch attacks against Iran. This map shows the Persian Gulf region, highlighting how deeply integrated U.S. military infrastructure is within these global economic zones. This chart illustrates the rapid response to a kinetic threat. When the foundational premise of safety evaporates, foreign investors initiate massive capital flight. For places like Dubai, the long-term consequence is irreversible. Wealthy individuals will not keep their money in a city vulnerable to immediate attack, leading to the permanent bankruptcy of their economic model. By simply demonstrating the capability to strike, Iran effectively weaponized globalization to destroy the viability of the entire Gulf economic zone. We see this vector expand when examining the next critical node targeted by Iranian retaliation, Bahrain. Bahrain holds immediate conventional military value as the headquarters for the U.S. Fifth Fleet. Attacking naval assets is the obvious kinetic objective. However, the Iranian strike is dual purpose, targeting a much deeper systemic vulnerability. This chart shows Bahrain's demographic imbalance. The country possesses a massive Shia majority, yet is governed by a tiny Sunni leadership tier. The Ayatollah's martyrdom connects directly to this demographic. The Shia population now has a religious obligation to resist their leaders. The external missile strikes utilize this demographic pressure to ignite a domestic sectarian revolution from within the country. This phase of retaliation ignores the warships. It is a calculated effort to entirely shatter the internal political structure of a key U.S. ally. Zooming out, we can assess the macro-level impact of these multi-domain retaliations across the Arabian Peninsula. Other key neutral players are inevitably drawn into this contagion of instability. The predicted progression of collapse begins with the violent fall of the Bahraini government. That is followed by the total financial insolvency of the United Arab Emirates. This progression culminates in the threat to the region's geopolitical anchor, Saudi Arabia. The chain reaction triggered by one isolated assassination creates a pathway for the collapse of both the financial centers and the political alliances that define the current region. This decision tree models the initial decapitation strike. As we can see, the intended path to system paralysis is blocked. The Western expectation is overwritten by a cascade of total mobilization, economic collapse, and sectarian contagion. The fundamental rule of applied game theory in warfare is that a strategy is functionally useless if it only calculates outcomes based on your own values. It is an absolute necessity to integrate an adversary's socio-religious doctrines and demographic vulnerabilities into any predictive model. Failing to map what your enemy truly values ensures that your most precise tactical victories become the exact catalysts for your own systemic defeat.